So let's begin the fourth part of this course, where we'll be viewing and analyzing the results calculated from the previous module. So let's begin by doing a quick overview of this course. For the static structural system that we created, the post-processing results are going to be done in mechanical, so we don't need to worry about learning a new interface for this module. We will be talking about viewing the results and more specifically explaining the results toolbar and how to make contour plots and viewing the factors of safety for the parts. We will then go over scoping results, which includes plotting results on individual parts and surfaces, and then we'll talk about convergence tools available in order to be more confident with our results. And then finally, report generation, where we can create reports for submission. So let's go ahead and get started. Now going back to the project schematic, we can see from the last module that the last three cells in System A are now up to date with a green check mark. The completion of cell number 4 indicates that the model information has been fully defined. This includes the material properties, connections, and mesh. Cell 5 shows that the loads and boundary conditions are indicated properly, and cells 6 and 7 show that the solution has been calculated and that we can now display the results. If you saved and closed your project from the last session, you can double-click on either cell 4, 5, 6, or 7, which will all open up mechanical in order to continue from where we left off. So let's go ahead and double-click on cell number 7 to get back to the mechanical interface. So now back in mechanical, we will be focusing on the solution branch, which is right here. Let's first begin by plotting some stress and deformation results. So in order to do that, you'll notice that when you click on the solution branch, the context toolbar here changes to the solution context toolbar. Now with this toolbar, we can plot many different types of solution results such as the deformation, strain, stress, energy, damage, linearized stress, and even probing results such as reaction forces, moment reactions. And we also have something called tools where we can insert a stress tool to solve for factors of safety. And finally, we have some user-defined results and coordinate systems where you can plot custom results such as formulas or results that are not included in the solution context toolbar, and the coordinate systems, for example, where you can plot triads on nodes or elements. Now if you want to take things a bit further, there is something called a command object or insert commands where you can insert custom scripts from older versions of ANSYS into ANSYS Workbench. So now say we want to insert the equivalent stress results. Now as before, we have a few ways of doing that. We can either go into the solution context toolbar and click on stress and then click on equivalent von Mises stress. We can right click on the solution branch here, click on insert, and then move up to stress and then click on equivalent. And then a third option would be clicking directly on the geometry that we want to scope and right clicking and then clicking on insert and then stress, and then equivalent. So let's click outside here to deselect the face, and let's click on stress from the toolbar and click on equivalent von Mises stress. Now you can see that in the details of the equivalent stress, the scoping method is by geometry selection, and the geometry is all bodies. So by default, ANSYS will choose all the bodies as the geometry. And we can see here that the type is equivalent von Mises stress, where here you can change that if you made a mistake. And for the other parameters, we're going to leave that as the default for now. So as you can see here, we have a lightning bolt, which means that the equivalent stress is ready to be generated. So we can click on this and then click on the solve button, or we can right click on the stress and click on evaluate all results. So let's click on that right now. So now we can see in the graphics window the stress results. So on the left here we have the legend, which indicates the minimum all the way to the maximum stress value. And we have here, it says equivalent stress. The type is the equivalent von Mises stress. And the units are in megapascals, where here you can change that again if you want it in different types of units. And here we have time 2, which means it's at the end of the second step. So this is after the preload and then after the force is applied. These are the results that we're viewing. So let's say we wanted to view the results after step 1, just after the preload. We can click on the graph toolbar here and click on 1 and then right click and then click on retrieve this result. So now this shows you the stress results after the first step, which is just after the preloading of the bolts. So we can see that just after preload, the maximum stress reaches 117 megapascals. And then to go back to step number 2, we can once again click on 2 here and then retrieve the result. Or we can also enter it here in the display time and change this to 2 and then hit enter and then right click here, let's say, and then retrieve the result again.